All right, some people are worried that they're not smart enough to invest in real estate. I've seen a tow truck driver in Hopewell who's a multimillionaire. Is Tamika here? Tamika, you and I met through this tow truck driver.
Wayne Taylor?
A long time ago, yeah, a long time ago. If Wayne is smart enough to buy and hold that many houses and duplexes in beautiful Hopewell, then so is everybody else. Here's an email I got a couple months ago. It says, Jim, I'm 69 now, I'm retired, I own my own house free and clear. Good thing, right? I also own 2 single-family rentals. While I'm alive, it doesn't matter to me if my personal house that I live in is worth $5 or $5 million. He doesn't care. I like where I live, and I plan to stay here for the duration. It wouldn't have mattered to me, let's see what else. While I'm alive, it doesn't matter to me what my rental properties are worth on the market. I'm only in them for the monthly rental income, and I have no plans to sell them anyways. My approach is slow and steady progress. If there's a vacancy, I get the income from the other ones to cover it. One of the things Peter Fortunato used to say down in Tampa when I would go down and see him is real estate is a thinking person's game, not a running person's game. And I think the person who sent me this email kind of figured that out. You've got to think about what you're doing. Don't just run into your deals blindly. Know your numbers and know what to do. I really like this quote from Jim Rome. It kind of sums up what we're doing here today. Formal education, it'll make you a good living. I've got a master's in engineering management. It doesn't really matter, right? What I've done after that point is what's really going to make the difference in your life. Your self-education, the work you put into yourself to continue to learn and continue to move forward. That's how you're going to really end up making your fortune. All right, I got a question for you guys. If you could receive a lump sum payment today that would take you to the end of your life, how much money would you want? Anybody?
All of it.
All of it? All right. Anybody else?
10 million.
10 million? Who said 10 million? Lori? Anybody else? 10 million?
Billion.
A billion? Okay. Peg? All right, $1 billion. Lori, what are you going to do with your $10 million if you receive it today?
I'd probably invest all of it.
Invest all of it? What are you going to buy? So you're not just going to go blow it?
I think I would buy an apartment complex.
Good choice. Peggy, how about you? If you had $1 billion, I'm going to show you how big $1 billion is in a minute. What would you do with $1 billion?
I never thought that far.
It's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot of money, right? $1 million, there it is. Is it enough? If you learn to invest and earn a really solid rate of return, you can make $1 million go a really long ways. How about $1 billion? Here's $1 million versus the $1 billion that Peggy gave us. Can you believe the difference? The little tiny block versus the skids, the pallets. By the way, I'm going to give you guys a bunch of fun facts here before I turn this over to Quincy. 1 million seconds ago was 12 days ago, but 1 billion seconds ago was 32 years ago. Does that put it in perspective? How much debt does our country have? Anybody?
That's in the trillions.
It's in the trillion, 17 trillion. See, we're all capitalists here today, and it's okay to be capitalistic minded. Here's the 17 trillion. Okay, it's a lot, right? How long ago was 17 trillion seconds ago? 32,000 years. That's the debt that every citizen in the United States is carrying today, whether we like it or not. So kind of a fun fact. I'm going to give you lots of not so fun facts for a few minutes. The truth is, you likely don't need anywhere near as much as you think you need in a lump sum payment today in order to live the rest of your life very comfortably and be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it without a job or whatever else, whatever it is you enjoy doing. The truth is, you got to learn how to make your money work for you so you can stop trading your time for dollars, right? Anybody ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Robert Kiyosaki, great author. By the way, at the end of the last sheet on the right side of your packet is a bunch of quotes to keep your mind straight. Here's some more not so fun facts. 76% of the United States households are paycheck to paycheck. 3.5 million workers are at minimum wage. That's a lot of people, and I think that number is growing. The average household has at least $15,000 of consumer debt. You guys feel good now? Recent college graduates, which there's a lot of you guys. How many of you guys are 25 and younger? Holy cow, I love it. If I could start over at your age, I could retire very young. I can't do that though. I don't get a do-over, right? Average student debt loan in 2012 was $29,000. I think there could be a student loan bubble coming because half those people coming out are working jobs they don't even need a degree for. Anybody know anyone like that? How about new cars? New cars are so fun, they're shiny and cool. Anybody want this Mercedes right here?
No.
Not the payment, right? That Mercedes is $129,000. I mean, really, for a car. And Bruce couldn't come today because he's in New York State, but a couple years ago, he bought a house for cheaper than he bought his Mitsubishi Galant. And it's in I got this story in my very first book because he sent me a picture of it and said, ka-ching. He says, I just realized I bought my car, the house was cheaper than the car. The house is going to produce income forever and the car is going to wear out, right? Well, I got some good news. You don't need to be average. You don't need to be like all these other averages we were looking at here, where you're paycheck to paycheck or working minimum wage or have a lot of consumer debt. Get rid of that consumer debt. It's like this big boat anchor right here. That's why I put that picture. You want freedom, get rid of your debt. You don't need to be average, is my message to you today. You don't need to be that $15,000 in debt. You also don't need to be overweight, like most of us are. I'll include myself in that. You also don't need to be slightly depressed. And most people don't even like their jobs. You don't have to be average. Here's a story about a young man, since there's so many of you guys that are young here. This is Chris Tucker. He basically retired when he was 30. He started investing very young, and he did it largely through real estate in under 10 years. By creative financing, learning to buy good investments, assets that shed income back to him, buying an apartment complex, and then he went on to start doing loans. He went into being a person that likes to lend money. And that transition happens to a lot of us. I love buying houses. I absolutely love buying houses. I'd rather go shopping for houses than go to the Short Pump Town Center and buy clothes, right? You guys know that about me that really know me well. That's just the way I am. But the one thing I'd rather do than buy houses is actually have the ability to just lend money because it's more passive than going out there and rehabbing and going through the process of buying and all of that. Now, here's another fun fact. 1 in 5 elderly Americans die broke, survey shows. I don't want any of us in the room to go through that. That's from NBC News. Can't make this stuff up. So we're going to talk a lot about returns and investments and making sure that you're ready for things like retirement. So let's talk a minute about retirement. How's your retirement jar doing? Some of us in the room, some of you are really young. You're in your 20s. Now's the time to start. So this message is for you. If you're nearing retirement, you've got to think about how much you need to make it through. You know, the average Social Security payment last year was $1,300 a month. Can anybody live on that? Seriously, $1,300 a month. Anybody? You can't, right? You know, Social Security was part of the New Deal, and those of us that are younger, including myself in this category, are nervous that it won't be around forever anyways, right? It was never really designed to go as long as it needs to go today anyways. It needs to be reworked a little. Back when the New Deal came out and Roosevelt designed it, the average person only lived to 65, right? And Social Security kicked in at 63. 2 years it was designed to go. And even Roosevelt himself died at 63 and didn't collect a penny on his own plan. Another fun fact. Even 50 years ago, people only lived in retirement an average of 12 years. Nowadays, it's 20 plus. There's a lot of people in this room that are going to live into their 90s. Anybody want to be one of them? That's a good problem. But you got to figure out how to sustain yourself for 20 plus years without working. So how can we do that? All right, back to being average. I like this quote. I woke up this morning and realized I don't have what it takes to sit back and be average. Anybody relate to that? Don't be average, right? So we're going to talk a lot about returns and capturing your edge. And being a math and science guy, I really like Albert Einstein. And we're going to talk a lot about compound interest because he said it's the 8th wonder of the world. And those of us in the room are going to understand this. How about the magic penny? Have you guys seen the magic penny? Yes. Okay, I'm going to go through it again. Would you rather have 10 grand in your hand right now or a penny that doubles every day for 30 days? Penny? Who wants the penny? All right, let's go through the math. If your penny doubles every day for 30 days, you're going to end up with over $5 million. Does that blow your mind? Whitney, does that blow your mind? Yes, it does. She's ready to take that penny and double it. It is mind-blowing. That is compound interest. You know, it starts off so slow. After 10 days, you're at $5. 20 days, now you're getting there. You're up to 5 grand, but that last 10 days, $5 million. But what happens when you start making money? Right? You start, Uncle Sam also wants his hand out for it, right? So I'm going to talk about that in just a second. What if you start at the age of 25, since there's so many young people here that are 25 and younger, and you put $10,000 into an investment, and just leave it there earning 10%. What do you think that goes to in 20 years? At 10%, using the rule of what's called 72, you take 72 and divide it by your rate of return, which is 10, means your money is going to double roughly every 7 to 8 years. So starting at 25, who's 25 in here? 20 to 25? Okay. Take $10,000, learn to earn 10% on it every year. You don't need to contribute again. And when you're older, like 74, you'll be up to $1.2 million. That is compounding interest, and something that they don't teach well in schools, like financial literacy. Now, this whole boot camp's about capturing your edge, making your money, making your return. But I said a minute ago, there's people that want to steal it back from you. A friend of mine, Jeff Watson, put it this way recently, and I really liked it. What does the IRS really mean? Theirs. Jeff's another lawyer out of Ohio. I really liked it. I took that from him. Great guy. The IRS equals theirs. You agree, Quincy, right? So what is their piece of this pie? Well, depending on how much taxable income you make, and again, this weekend we're going to talk a lot about ways to reduce your taxable income. So we don't want you to pay any more to Uncle Sam than you absolutely have to. But if you're making over $38,000, you're in the 25% bracket this year, okay? So if you do a fix and flip and you show at least $38,000 of income on your taxes, what's your tax hit? It's going to be the 25%. Plus, potentially, your self-employment tax of another 15%. That's 40% of your profit gone to Uncle Sam. Does anybody want to give up that much to Uncle Sam? Uncle Sam's a great guy. I mean, I love our country. I'm passionate about the United States, but 40%'s a lot. How about landlords? I've had 2 different people this week ask me this question, and we're going to try to take it. They've owned rental property for a long time, and they want to sell it, but they're afraid to sell it because of the tax problem. 2 of you. I know who you are. There's one over here and one over here. What happens when you sell a rental property you've owned a really long time? A lot of people start off investing by renting the house they used to live in. You got to pay potentially 25% or more, maybe up to 33 or 28, wherever you're at. And then you also got to pay depreciation recapture and other stuff. I'm not a CPA, okay, but it is a lot of money, and it's something you got to consider when you're buying and selling and flipping and things like that. So what can be done differently? Well, you're going to learn some tax strategies this weekend. Let's go back to what happens to your returns I went through a minute ago with that magic penny. If you pay 28% taxes every year on that penny, okay? Or every time your penny flips, Whitney, you're gonna shell out 28% to our government IRS. All right, I showed you a minute ago, if your penny doubles 30 times, you get $5.4 million basically, right? But you add in the compounding effect of losing 28% a year to taxes, your $5.4 million goes to $67,000. These are real numbers. These are real numbers. Who wants to lose over $5 million in taxes? Anybody? Right? The tax is also compounding just like your returns. And if you go through all the math, you'll see this as an example. And that's part of the edge I want you to capture this weekend, is your ability to invest responsibly and keep as much of your profit as you can. So we're all about investing in the sweet spot. Maximize your return, minimize your expenses, minimize your taxes, and that really is the sweet spot because you're not average, right? Hey, everybody say it, I'm not average. One more time. I'm not average, right? All right, good, thank you. All right, so we want to maximize our profits, minimize our taxes, minimize our expenses. I'm going to also say minimize our hassles with contracts.